Okay, yep. Okay, the audio's on, and then we start in 1 minute. Excellent. Yeah, this is going to be live on YouTube and Facebook, but it's divided up into two things, because with the censorship now, we can only have like some things on the live and Facebook, then we shut it off, and then it goes straight to the Dr. B. Yes, comrade, I will not say anything against anything. We can't talk about this or this. 10 seconds? 5 seconds? 4 seconds? I think it's a control thing with Victor. I think he just has a stopwatch. Everything synced up? Yeah, go. Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. Okay, now we're going to talk about, because I get a lot of comments like, he's not even a medical doctor. Yeah, thank God, okay? And all chiropractors have the opportunity. And we're going to get into that on why I actually chose to be a chiropractor instead of choosing to deal with symptoms with toxic chemicals. I'm sorry, be a medical doctor. But I had to show you this. Okay, a couple of weeks ago, we went to a free state. I'm in socialist California, comrade, okay? But I want to show you, that is a sky from Idaho. And when we went in, and that's the meeting of the Chiropractic Knights of the Round Table. I'm way over there on the right-hand side. But that, honest to God, is a sky. And it was such a beautiful free state. We walked into a supermarket outside of Coeur d'Alene, and nobody was wearing a mask. And I said, you know, when did you guys lose the mask requirement? And they said, well, when it came out, we just never followed it. Oh, God. Okay, here's a quote from Ian Watson. If you have to be persuaded, reminded, pressured, lied to, incentivized, coerced, bullied, socially shamed, guilt-tripped, threatened, punished, and criminalized, if all of this is considered necessary to gain your compliance, you can be absolutely certain that what is being promoted is not in your best interest. Yes, that is not from 2021. Okay, it's just this is a common occurrence. Now, I encourage you, because some of our videos are being deleted, please share this information. And if you can, hit the notification bell, because we're also being shadow banned, and I get notifications every week of, oh my God, you're still producing videos. Yeah, every friggin' week. Okay, and get on to Dr. B VIP, but on the Dr. B, you get it in a format where you can share the links, because that's the information that's got to come out. Now, the second part of this will be self-censored by us, because YouTube would wipe out the friggin' channel. They will eventually anyway. But I encourage you to support Extreme Health Academy too. I'm on there at least once a month for a webinar, but if you're looking for like-minded people with problems and solutions, that's a good group. Now, we're not going to get into the story yet, but I just want to thank a shout out to Lars and Ando. We did the Round of Catalina race, and this past weekend, so it started at 12 o'clock on Saturday. We were hoping to finish about midnight on Sunday. We cruised in at around 4 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning. Okay, and you'll see that big line going around Catalina looks pretty cool. That little tiny part over there, we were sailing backwards at about 1.5 knots for about an hour. Okay, sailing backwards is not what you want to do. It was freaking miserable. No wind, nothing. This is the boat we sailed on. It's Lars's boat. And you'll notice there's no seats, there's no windshield. So at about 3 o'clock in the morning, when we're coming off mid-channel, there's about a 4-foot swell, 6-foot knot heading in. And it's wet, rainy, and cold. That's not the most comfortable place to be. So let's get into the subject. Okay, now if you look at this, medical doctors and doctors of chiropractic are like the ethnic kids on the block. We got to study a little bit harder, so it takes a little bit longer in school to be a doctor of chiropractic instead of a doctor of medications. But look at the system. You can call it allopathic, but the definition of allopathic, and you couldn't call it allopathetic, okay, but allopathic, it's a symptom of medical practice that aims to combat disease by the use of remedies such as drugs or surgery, producing effects different from or incomparable with those produced by the disease being treated. And in the early 1900s, They used to say if you went to a homeopath or an allopath, if you went to the allopath, you died of the therapy before the disease. If you went to a homeopath, you died of the disease before the therapy. Now, vitalism, and again, vitalism, think of this. All organic systems in the universe are conscious, self-developing, self-maintaining, and self-healing. The body has an innate inborn intelligence that guides its development and interactions with its environment. I like that. I like that. Now, when I was in chiropractic college, they had a couple of Caribbean schools that if you put another year and a half in, you'd be both an MD and a DC. And I thought, wow, you know, when I was first starting that'd be cool. You know, the MDs are respected, you know, this and this. And I was talking to the older students and they said, dude, when you get into the clinic, you're going to find out treating people with medications or drugs doesn't work. The outcomes aren't good. And why? Because this is the system. I mean, it's based on 19th century thinking. And when you understand anatomy and physiology, and I taught human dissection anatomy for 8 years, so I got a real good appreciation for humans. But look at the gastroenterologist. Okay, now knowing that serotonin is produced in the gut, 90% of it's in the gut. Okay, knowing that that's 80% of the immune system, does the psychologist talk to the gastroenterologist and say, gee, you know, have you given some antibiotics which could cause anxiety, stress, and depression by destroying the gut flora? Knowing the dermatologist, okay, we know that psoriasis and eczema come from low stomach acid. Is the dermatologist calling up the gastroenterologist to say, hey, look, do we have a hypochlorhydria system? Do we have a low acid system? No. The rheumatologist, okay, are they looking for 80% of the immune system? Are they talking to the gastroenterologist or the nephrologist, wondering about the health of the blood, okay, wondering if there's anxiety, stress, or depression putting the body in a stress state? Are they talking to the neurologist? Did the neurologist talk to the gastro? You see how dysfunctional it is? It doesn't work. You can't separate it. And when I get people coming in, and this one gal, God bless her, I have the best endocrinologist, the best, #1 in Beverly Hills. And I said, yeah, I know you don't have the third best because that guy, he's good looking but stupid. You know, everyone is the best, okay? And that's not true, because he's looking at the thyroid. Now, she happened to have, you know, a weird eye thing, okay? She's double vision, you know, headaches, all this other stuff after this weird jab. And he says, well, it's thyroiditis. Just happened to occur. Okay, I don't know how that works with the lateral rectus and the pressure on the brainstem, because the first adjustment, her eye, you know, helped, and it only lasted for like 15 minutes. I said, yeah, we got to fix all the other parts and then it's going to, you know, line up good. It's just crazy. So when you're looking at medical care or health care, are we in the healthiest population the planet's ever seen? Or 60% of the adults have a chronic illness or injury? Do we need more medications? We just don't have enough pharmaceutical products. The average person over 60 has taken 12. I ain't taken any, and I'm 61. So that means someone's making up for me. I hope it's nobody here. Okay, so vaccinations. Okay, current kid ratio right now. By the time you're 18, in this country currently, you get 72 doses of 17 different vaccines. Now, there have been no placebo-controlled trials for that. So do we need 80? 90? Okay, there's hundreds in development. So we could just keep shooting them into people, or we don't have enough. Do we need more surgeries? Okay, is the body just built defective? More medication sooner? You know, we got to start thinking of it. So let's take a step back and let's see what profession you want to join. Okay, so we got vitalism versus mechanism. Is the body self-healing, self-regulating, divinely inspired, okay, are designed to live here? Or are you just a collection of parts? So your heart is over here, but the heart really has to work with the lungs, doesn't it? And then you've got the lungs that have to work with the kidneys. And then you've got the nervous system that controls the phrenic nerve, which controls the lung function. So are you a collection of parts, or is this like a symphony that everything has to work together? So I'm describing the parts is a 19th century idea. where they used to talk about holism or the holistic body or how the body works in conjunction with each other and you can't divide it up. So which one do you think is correct? Holism versus reductionism is the entire body has one entity going through life experiencing physical, chemical, and emotional stress. Or should we reduce it down to the organ system, the part, the cell? Now that reductionist theory works really, really good on certain disease processes. But using that reductionist theory and the mechanistic authority now, we have the sickest society the world's ever seen. Now we have humanism versus authoritarianism. Now what's interesting is we're seeing your rights eroded rapidly. Now currently, if you're in California and you have a child and you register it at a hospital, the child is no longer your property. Okay, that child will have to be force vaccinated, so the medical procedures without your consent, even though you're responsible for the kids' life, schooling, education, everything else. And you should say, yes, well, the state is smart and good and strong, and people are uneducated. Yeah, that hasn't worked out really well in the past, you know, for Germany, Russia, you know, all the authoritarian regimes. Natural or artificialism. Okay, would you like naturally grown vegetables or genetically modified? Which ones are higher in nutrients? We have scientific data to support that. Okay, now when we look at this, this is actual facts. Now medical doctors and doctors of chiropractic have to learn this stuff. Okay, and we have an automatic nervous system. One part keeps you alive under stress. And that's called the sympathetic. The other part regenerates tissue. Now we actually measure it in people. Okay, now if you have a sympathetic dominant state, your blood pressure is going to be elevated, cholesterol is going to be elevated, okay, and blood sugar is going to be elevated. So you're literally running away from a tiger. Now, do you want blood supply going to the gut where digestion is? No. So blood supply to the gut and immune system, which is hugely metabolically expensive. I mean, has anyone in here ever had a cold? I know you haven't had it in 2020, okay, and 2021 because it was the COVID, okay, because the cold and flu is gone, okay? You know, it's just magic. No one's been sick like a dog for 3 days in a year, you know, 19 months. Okay, but imagine when you had a cold, do you say, God, I'm gonna go golfing. I wanna work out. No, you're wiped out. Because the immune system is metabolically expensive, takes a shitload of energy. So when you're in physical, chemical, or emotional stress, the sympathetic is activated. That means the rest, digest, and repair is suppressed. Does that mean that if you have problems with sleep, you have problems with a lack of ease? So think of this. You are a tissue-producing machine. You destroy 1 billion cells a day. You build 1 billion cells a day. You are only alive because you take proteins and break those to amino acids, fats to fatty acids, and carbohydrates to usable sugars. So you got the raw materials to build every friggin' cell in your body. And that's why you're a constant tissue producing machine. So if you're able to produce tissue faster than you break down, that's called health. Okay? If you break down faster than you build, that's called a lack of ease. How would you say that? Disease. Good. Thank God the Brits are here. Okay, there's such a command of the language. Okay, so this is law. So does that mean that if somebody has high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, that you should look for the reason that they have an alteration in physiology? Yes? No, not if you're in the medical paradigm. See, what we do, we actually measure this. And you'll see that little yellow, then the orange, that green area is the normal side. The left-hand side is the sympathetic dominant, the right-hand side is the parasympathetic dominant. And we literally measure the autonomic function. Sarah, in every patient or every patient? Okay, you're right. Every patient that's hand fits in the friggin' machine. So if a kid's hand is too small, they don't get it measured. Okay, if they're over 7, we can probably measure it. Okay, so this clues us in, are they building healthy cells or they're not? Should their blood pressure be elevated if they're in a sympathetic dominant state? Yes or yes? Absolutely, it makes it easy. Okay, so, and I told this gal that I'm gonna show her her X-rays and scans, but let's look at this from a medical perspective. Now, she has had dizziness or balance for 2 years. Okay, now balance is composed of 3 different things. One, information coming up from the spine. That's called the dorsal columns. The other is the cerebellum. Now, all this stuff, synapses in the cerebellum. Okay, and drugs and medications affect the cerebellum. And the third one is this vestibular ocular apparatus. So if you're on something like this, okay, and one of our crew didn't make it and it wasn't me. I mean, I could be eating a green chili burrito and it goes on like that. Okay, but you know, when you have that, you can have balance issues. So you can function with 2 of those 3. So there's got to be a problem with one. So when you're looking at this, you're seeing the lumbar, the low back is messed up. You're seeing some rotational malpositions up there. We're looking at an anterior listhesis on the side of it and a stress state. Now in the medical world, dizziness and balance, okay, they'll give a Dramamine. Has anyone in here ever heard of Dramamine deficiency syndrome? No? No? Okay. Well, they gave her a muscle relaxant and a cholesterol lowering drug. No, I guess weed is legal in Florida. Okay. Oh, no, she's not from Florida. But, okay, so why would they do that? Why would you give a drug instead of looking at the 3 different things that can cause it? Well, how would you like to look at alterations in the dorsal columns or structural problems in the spine and not have a freaking clue on how to fix it? Okay, it's like when I open the hood and it's not working and I'm looking at this thing that's called a transmission, I'm not going to open it up because God knows I don't know how to put it back together. Okay, so if you don't understand how to identify structural and neurologic issues and you don't have the skill set to correct them, you're not going to look at it. Okay, so you're just trained in the pharmaceutical approach. Can you understand how stupid that is? Okay, but let's look at the muscle relaxant. The muscle relaxant, they actually don't work on the muscles. They attack the base of the brain or the medulla. So this negatively affects the entire body's adaptation. Now the cholesterol lowering drugs, how good are those? Well, if you look at the expert review of clinical pharmacology, they cause hardening of the arteries, atherosclerosis, and heart failure. Really? Thus, the epidemic of heart failure and atherosclerotic that plagues the modern world may be paradoxically aggravated by the pervasive use of statin drugs. We propose the current statin treatment guidelines be critically reevaluated. Really? So you have dizziness and balance, and you give a drug that can cause heart damage and hardening of the arteries. Here's another one out of clinical cardiology. Statin therapy can cause decreased heart muscle function. That doesn't sound good. Okay, how many hearts does a human have? No, don't talk about poets. I know it's on the sleeve. No, I'm talking about the thing that pumps. Gee, some people. Okay, increased prevalence of coronary plaques, plaquing of the artery. That doesn't sound good either. For balance? Why would hardening the artery and damaging the heart help with balance? Now, this is 1902, Dr. Still. Now, he started osteopathy, okay, which was brilliant because he found out that medical doctors were treating with opioids. No, not the opioids that are current epidemic today. That's a new version. Okay, they actually used opium, which was a bit safer. Okay, but they put it in child's cough syrup and heroin and cough syrup because you'd be surprised that heroin and cough syrup really has a calming effect on children. Okay, but he had a problem with that. He thought drugging kids wasn't good. And of course now the medical industry, which is taking over the chiropractic schools, 86% of them are taken over. They took over 100% of the osteopathic schools. His quote, "The present schools of medicine are injurious schools of drunken systems that create morphine, whiskey, and other drug-taking habits to the shame and disgrace of the advancement and intelligence of the age. People become diseased now as they did in other days, and to heal them successfully without making opium fiends and whiskey sots for life should call for and get the best attention that the mind of man can give." 130,000 people a year die minimally from the right drug at the right time in the right dosage. Okay, and that's the minimum. That's when you do shit right. Okay, now Dr. Batman Ganji, you got to read his book. I think he died a couple of years ago. Water Cures, Drugs Kill. And I mean, just brilliant. You're talking about people that were in the medical system, that were trained as the distribution arm of the pharmaceutical industry. What did he find out? Medical doctors and all other doctors who hold to the outdated, ignorant paradigm of disease coming from germs, bad luck, or bad genes will be stunned when they realize what is ahead. All of a sudden, they will feel naked. They will see the many years of learning and memorizing scientific jargons and all the statistical analysis for justification of treatment protocols using toxic chemicals or invasive procedures, and the price structure attached to these acquired skills is declared obsolete. It is obsolete. We get more 60-year-old guys that ain't taking drugs. Here you go. Heart palpitations, brain fog. This is actually the patient standing up. Now, the nerves to the heart, there's two nerve supplies to the heart. Parasympathetic in the neck. Okay, do you think that might be altered if your body's like this? Yeah. And the top of the rib cage area, there's a significant rotation in there. That's the sympathetic nerve supply to the heart. Does it make sense? Would it be unusual if she didn't have it? Absolutely. Okay, so if you have a heart that's supposed to pump all the time, and this parasympathetic is it's like the diesel engine of the heart. That's located in the neck. And the sympathetic nerve supply is in the top of the thoracic area. That's for short bursts, like, you know, running up the hill golfing or something. Okay, where you got to, you know, like beat the person that, you know, over the head with the golf club. That would get the sympathetic going. Okay, wouldn't you want to look at the nerve supply to the heart to see if there was a defect? And then look at this. Wrist and hand pain, tired, fatigue, tension headaches. 97% of all headaches come from the neck. Would you think that it'd be prudent to look at the neck? I know. How could you go along with the system? This system here, okay, if this was a group of animals, you would fire the people in charge of the animal husbandry. If I said this group of llamas that's at the LA Zoo, 60% of them got a chronic illness, they're all going to die from heart disease, cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, and kidney disease. Would you say, my God, we've got to get some pharmaceuticals in that herd of llamas? Okay? And 40% of them have 2 of those critical conditions or more. Or would you say the system is so completely dysfunctional that I see people that have been given a blood pressure drug like a hydrochlorothiazide, a diuretic, which says it damages the kidneys. And the kidneys are a blood filter. And they take it for 20 years because their doctor told them they needed it to. Yes, I know the doctor's smarter than your own physiology. But by God, if your blood pressure is high, shouldn't you find out why? Shouldn't you look for the autonomic, the nerves that control that? Here's the delusion of diagnosis. All of these things here, high blood pressure, inflammatory bowel, fibromyalgia, high cholesterol, breast cancers, these are all unknown conditions in the medical world. They can say there's contributing factors to them, but what causes it, we just don't know. You know, like the great Saint Fauci, who is science. No, you must not question him. He is not the God, just a God. Okay, we're not going to blaspheme. So what's high blood pressure? It's an adaptation to stress. Okay, inflammatory bowel, toxic exposure or stress. Fibromyalgia, stress adaptation. So think of this. If you're diagnosed with this stuff, shouldn't you look for the stress or the causative agent? Yes or yes? Or do you take a chemical to suppress the symptoms that has a myriad of effects? It just doesn't make sense. Why would you join a system that's so completely dysfunctional that gives a toxic substance without looking for the cause, and then you're not responsible for patient outcome? Heck, I got to do 3 different tests to make sure that I fixed the problem. I got to do a post-X-ray, post-scan, post-thermography to see that we're getting the body corrected. It's nuts. Now, the body has 2 different communication pathways. You got electrical and chemical. Hormonal, okay, now you got one thing though. It's called a hypothalamus. It's got 1 leg in the electrical system, that's the nervous system, 1 leg in the chemical system, that's the hormonal system. And so you have this pathway, and this is fertility. Do we have an issue with fertility now? Okay, holy moly. When I was a kid, they were trying to not get pregnant, okay? I mean, you know, this was like birth control. Of course, birth control, what does estrogen do? Oh, increase cancers, then we have a massive increase in cancer rate of 20 years later. Okay, so let's look at this. Endocrine disruptors. Now, these are things, chemicals, that are like hormones, but not really hormones. Okay, they're in food, personal care, vaccines, medications, shampoos. It's literally everywhere. You're exposed to chemicals that are like hormones, but not really hormones. And we can see the deposits in our thermography. Now, what do these chemicals do? And you could just talk about the drugs, the pharmaceutical products. FDA-approved pharmaceutical drugs can cause persistent epigenetic changes. That means that we can change your genetic expression by giving you a toxic chemical. Now, this doesn't affect just you. It's going to affect your offspring. So those people taking the Advil over the counter, or the Motrin, or the Vioxx. Oh no, you can't get Vioxx anymore. I'm sorry, that killed more people in the Vietnam War. Nobody went to jail for it. Okay, so these products, they have a protection. So who owns most of the advertising agencies? The pharmaceutical industry. Who does most of the campaign contributions? The pharmaceutical industry. So these are protected groups. But luckily, there's still some scientists out there. So what is permanent epigenetic changes? That means control above your genes cause. You're talking cancers, autoimmune conditions, everything. So, and by the way, what do 2 drugs do together? I mean, name 2. Any 2. Nobody knows. Just think of this. Okay, we got like 20 people in a room now. Okay, what if we gave 1 drug to everybody? Would we have the exact same effects? No. So if we're marketing this drug, we would call it side effects. That would work. Okay, so everyone's going to have a different effect from this, but since we want to market it because it's going to be for pain relief or blood pressure or hair loss or whatever, okay, we're going to market it as that's the main effects. Okay, so if we're going to advertise the cholesterol-lowering drug, we're not going to say, look, man, this baby causes hardening of the arteries and heart muscle failure, and it has a side effect of lowering cholesterol. Wait, no. You'd word that backwards. This can lower cholesterol, has a side effect of, and you need to say it really fast and so nobody understands. Okay, our current understanding of pharmacology is an oversimplification. Yeah, what are they going to say in 200 years? Damn, you guys just didn't have enough drugs. Just didn't get it in time, okay? Journal of the American Medical Association. Many current practices that seem logical but are without evidence may need to be reconsidered and incorporated into a less dogmatic and more patient-centered approach to care. I think so too. How about being responsible? Okay, if you're going to put someone on a high blood pressure drug without looking at the stressor and knowing that that blood pressure drug slows the heart down and decreases oxygen to the brain, and we have an epidemic of Alzheimer's, and knowing that cholesterol is 50% of the overall weight of the brain, and we have an epidemic of Alzheimer's, should we look at things that help the brain or alter the physiology? I mean, that just makes sense. This gal, okay, now, her drug list, the daily drugs are levothyroxine, 2 different types, hydrocodone, hydromorphine. Those are very, very powerful pain relievers, and they back you up. So she has 2 more stool softeners in there to really help out. Now, what does she have? Headaches, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, adrenal fatigue. Now, what is the cause of headaches? 97% are all coming from the neck. But a medical doctor doesn't know how to correct the neck, so you're like me, I'm not going to look inside of the transmission. God knows, a bunch of wheels in there, okay? They're not going to look inside of this body to see if there's a subluxation because they can't identify it and they can't fix it. Okay, then you look at fibromyalgia. chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue, Beckett's syndrome, and that's just rashes everywhere, endometriosis, and Hashimoto's. Does she have those? Does she have those? Or are these adaptations to physical, chemical, and emotional stress? By giving these drugs, by taking all of these drugs, did she come bouncing in the office saying, damn, I feel good? Okay? No. You're right, Victor, you're right. 3-4 more drugs, you'd know. You're right, baby, she'd be right there. What do these drugs do together? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So when I get a patient like this, and it's illegal for a doctor of chiropractic in this country to say, stop this. What I can do is show them the effects of the drug and say, we need to talk to the doctor that prescribed these. And I'm not going to say, look, he has just lost his friggin' mind, but he's unaware of the stressors that you're going through and how your body is adapting. Now, blood pressure is an objective analysis, that tends to go lower within about a week, so I can send the patient off with an objective analysis to give to the doctor and say, hey, look, and I tell them to say, I've made lifestyle changes and my blood pressure is this. So now, could we reduce the diuretic before it causes kidney damage? They generally leave the last part off. So, what do we have here? We have a rigid allopathetic model of treating symptoms with chemicals. Is that working well for us? No. So there's a decline, there's challenges and a decline in the faith of the population. But luckily, the population is so programmed by the media, and the media is owned by the pharmaceutical company, that we're going to have a major revolution for the public to wake up. Luckily, people are starting to wake up, and they're starting to think, maybe, 19 months to flatten the curve, that might be too much, okay? And it just might not be it. So let's look at the body has intelligence, self-healing, self-regulating. Maybe the body is designed to live here, that you are eons and generations here, okay, that you've got memory of your immune system from your grandma, your great-grandma. God, that makes sense. So what is chiropractic? For one, chiropractic is not alternative. I'm sure as hell not complimentary. I would say antagonistic, and I'm okay with that, because people matter. By God, if they're coming to me, if they're trusting me with their health, Jesus, I've got to know what the heck is going on. Okay, muscle and bone doctors? Hell no, we don't do massage. I'm not for back pain. If I got somebody comes in here that says, my back hurts, I said, cool. How many bowel movements a day do you get? How's your sleep patterns? Okay, what type of functions are you diminished on? Okay, do you have elevations in cholesterol and blood pressure? All of results are a sympathetic dominant state from the result of the back pain. I don't give a shit about the back pain. Okay, I'm going to find the cause of it, but the effects of that it has on your physiology is way more important. Neck pain, symptom relief? Hell no, 90% of the nerves that come off the spine, there's no pain fibers. Why would you take somebody who's got a spine like this? Doc, I feel so much better, I think I'm done. Really? Okay. No, I use an objective analysis. That's foolishness. What chiropractic actually is, it's a unique and distinctive healing art where we work with the autonomic nervous system and allow the person to deal effectively with the stressors of life. Because you always have physical, chemical, and emotional stressors. Unless you're married, then you only have physical and chemical. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. We're doctors of the nervous system, not bone doctors. Identify and correct subluxations, restore normal form and function. I mean, medicine, B.J. Palmer said it, is the study of disease and what causes man to die. Chiropractic is the study of health and what causes man to live. And that's true. I've got a great guy that's really good at investment. He's studied poverty for years. Okay, this patient, okay, right now, you see the little baby there? Okay, he's now like 10 and just darling. But this gal comes in, her sister has been my patient for years before this. Her daughter used to have asthma, doesn't have asthma, she had headaches and stuff, the dad, the whole family came in. And this gal's got a tumor the size of a grapefruit, and she's pregnant with a 3-month-old fetus. And she went to all the doctors, and, you know, she had this pain and stuff. That's why they looked at it. And they said, well, you know, if we remove the tumor, the kid's going to be born deformed. We recommend that you abort both, and then we remove the tumor. Okay, and you know, all these different things. She wanted the baby. Okay, and so her sister said, you know, you got to go see my chiropractor. Back pain? I got a tumor in a 3-month-old kid. Okay, and said, look, you know, just go there. And so I couldn't take x-rays of her because she's pregnant. I didn't want to harm the fetus any more than, you know, anybody else has. And we did actually have a diagnostic ultrasound machine. Did I know how to use it? No. But this is back in 2008, and I was bartering some care with this ultrasound tech. And I said, buddy, can you go in there and check the size of the tumor? He said, yeah, sure. So they did a baseline, okay, and found out it was about the size of a grapefruit. Now, the body has this pharmacy. It's called the adrenal glands. And just doing palpation on her, she had a lot of tenderness up here at the thoracolumbar junction, you know, problems with the neck and everything. And so that area, now, do tumors come from bad luck, bad genes, or did the body actually form it? Body formed it. Okay, body formed it. So if the body formed it, there had to have been some type of toxicity, deficiency, altered nerve supply. So it's actually an intelligent process. So if we can restore that intelligence, then the body would have an ability to maybe eliminate the tumor. Just thinking logic. Okay, so we adjust her, and her pain within 3-4 adjustments started to go away. And, you know, so we're adjusting her on a regular basis, getting her pelvis, change her sleep patterns, get her physiology up. Now she starts to poop on a regular basis. I mean, everything starts to work. So about 2 months go by, and, you know, because we don't want to bombard the kid all the time or every week, we check it, and the kid's growing, and the tumor shrunk down to about the size of a lemon. Okay, now this is like 5-6 months, okay? Come around to 7 months, we did just one little spot shot, and now it's about the size of a lemon, and the kid's getting bigger and bigger. When the kid's born, they didn't find the tumor. Okay, now she said this, and we still have it up on testimonials, and she's got this kid, and she's telling the story, and thank you, Dr. Bergman. Okay, now the kid's like 10 and just freaking darling. How do you want to live? Do you want to live that the body is self-healing, self-regulating, and you're designed to live to 120 years, okay, with no drugs, healthy and vital? Or are you're going to decay and die, and only modern medicine can help you? No. This is the key. When we talk about these 5 things, the 5 aspects, you need proper nerve supply, you need regular exercise for movement, for health. You need to, your body is continually regenerating itself. So if you're taking crap food, you're going to have a crap body, okay? I used to say Kmart food, you get a Kmart body, but I think Kmart went out of business. Okay, so sufficient rest. Why? Because that's when your body regenerates. So if you're watching the TV every night before you go to bed, okay, you're in a hypnotic state, you're not going to regenerate. Prayer and meditation, that few minutes a day connecting with a force greater than you puts you in a parasympathetic state. It just makes sense. Does that make sense? It does. Yeah, who wouldn't want to be a chiropractor? That's why I see every little kid. I said, okay, what do you want to be? I don't know. Okay, you're probably going to want to be a chiropractor after this. They will. So now we're going to get into, and so thank you, Dr. or Facebook and YouTube. We're going to go to the part now that the Ministry of Truth will not allow us to put on, but at least I hopefully they'll let us get by with just slamming the hell out of a dysfunctional system, and we didn't mention anything about this stuff. Okay, Victor? Okay, and I'm saying goodbye. Victor's going to switch us. Now, if you're on